This is Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with your hosts, Mark Garrigus and Gary Smith.
Wow, Gary, welcome. Happy Sunday to you. It's another fascinating week in the midnight train to Georgia, right?
Yes, it is. Happy Sunday and happy St. Patrick's Day. But I think that, I didn't actually discuss this with you beforehand, but I think what we have to start with is something from last week. Yes,
please. Will you please go there now? Because I think people, but my comment of the week was somebody, and it was because I had to look it up. Somebody said you guys got rickrolled. Whoever said that, I think, is comment of the week.
Yeah, actually, that was somebody who was building off of JDevil21, who was the first one to alert us to it. So maybe we'll get them both some swag. But JDevil21,
both swag, because I love it.
Yeah, the Rickroll was funny. But for anyone who didn't listen last week, we played a few different clips, but we started off by playing this clip twice, and we're going to watch it one more time just to bring everyone who's listening now up to speed.
I'd like to read to the court the text messages between Mr. Nathan Wade and his lover, Fani Willis. Dear Fani, I like big butts, and I cannot lie. My oath of brothas can't deny. When my Fanny walks in with that fat ass, I want to make it rain with her campaign cash. I noticed that her butt was stuffed deep in the jeans she was wearing. I am hooked, and I can't stop staring. Oh, Fani, I want to get with you and take your picture. My homeboys tried to warn me, but that big-ass butt you got makes me so horny. Fanny got back.
Okay, so a few things here. For all the comments of now, yes, that is an AI generated video that I personally, I'm going to put it on myself, I thought was in fact real to some degree. The changes in the lyrics were enough that I thought it was possible that was a playful text between two people who are in an intimate relationship. As it turns out, that wasn't the case. It was somebody on the internet who's very funny who created a AI based video that purported to show one of the defense lawyers reading text messages to Nathan Wade, who was sitting on the stand.
Steve Sato, who was Trump's.
Right. Now, for the people who say that there's no excuse for me not to recognize that that's Baby Got Back, I understood that was Baby Got Back. Absolutely. Of course it was. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And for the people who think that it was funny that you said that we should set it to music, the reason that I kept my mouth shut during that was because of this. I always intended to set this to music because I knew I could. So here is our apology gift to the audience.
I like big butts, and I cannot lie. My oath of brothas can't deny. When my Fanny walks in with that fat ass, I want to make it rain with her campaign cash. I noticed that her butt was stuffed deep in the jeans she was wearing. I am hooked, and I can't stop staring. Oh, Fani, I want to get with you and take your picture. My homeboys tried to warn me, but that big-ass butt you got makes me so horny.
Now you have to go to... I think everybody who watches this show probably realizes that Nathan Wade, in response to the judge's what has been termed a scathing opinion, he basically said either Fani goes or Nathan goes, which is hard to understand why that solves the problem based on the factual determinations he made. But then Trump posted something. Do you have what Trump posted?
Yes.
On Truth Social?
So this is a slightly modified clip of a real interaction between Wade and one of the defense attorneys, and Trump posted this on his Truth Social network. So let's watch this one. This is mostly for our visual users. It's going to be hard to necessarily get this over audio, but go check us out, youtube.com/reasonable doubt podcast, to see the somewhat ingenious social media video that he made.
Did you go to a cabin with Miss Willis ever?
Ever?
Ever.
No.
You've never gone to a cabin with this?
No.
So that's Trump using the exaggerated pause that Nathan Wade had before he answered the question and adding in some visuals of him with a thought bubble and some provocative photos that they photoshopped. And that's something else. It's very on brand.
Oh, for those who say they can't believe that the nominee of one of the two political parties is posting that, I have said for years that this guy is the Trump is the Henny Youngman or Shecky Greene of politics. And do you have the clip of him? And I don't remember, where was the campaign rally where he did his shtick?
I can look, but let's play it, and I'll figure it out while we're playing it.
Okay.
That all these local cases like Fani. It's spelled Fanny. It's spelled Fanny like your ass, right, Fanny? But when she became DA, she decided to add a little French, a little fancy. Fani, and, Fani and Mr. and Mrs. Wade, which his wife did not appreciate. His wife didn't appreciate. Can you imagine these two people trying to take down I'm a very popular president. I mean, again, I got more votes than any sitting president in history. We have these two lowlifes trying to take down a president of the United States. But, equally badly, they went after 26 people. They wanted to make it 48 people. They had some senators that these guys know very well who were indicted, who were ready to be indicted, and somebody stopped it. And they wanted to find out what the hell is going on in Georgia, what's going on with the elections, and it's so crazy. And they almost got indicted for that.
Yes.
That was a campaign rally in Dayton, Ohio, and
That's
there was a comment that he made later in the remarks that is dominating the headlines right at the moment. But yeah,
you want to play that too?
I don't have that one ready, but I can summarize it. It's depending on which side of the aisle you find the videos from, it's either a 9-second video of him saying that there's going to be a bloodbath in this country if he's not elected, or there's a minute and 15-second version that shows a little bit more context to it, where he's talking about Chinese plants that are being built to manufacture cars in Mexico, and how they think that they're going to be able to bring them across the border and sell them without any tariffs, and that if he's elected, he's going to place a 100% tariff on them, and that they're not going to be allowed to do that. So that's the dominant of the headlines today. Is depending on how you're spinning it, the word bloodbath is definitely everywhere today.
Well, and also I think you have a clip, because I keep saying it, and I don't know that that your generation or younger than my generation knows the reference when I keep saying, I think people know Rodney Dangerfield or Henny Youngman, but I think Shecky Greene is who lived to the ripe old age, almost 100. You have a clip of Shecky? I do. Comedy was a little bit longer form back in that day. It wasn't the social media stuff that we have now. So I tried to find a short-ish clip of Shecky doing a joke. So let's watch this.
I love dialect stories. There's a story about the man that committed adultery. And he went to the corner church, and he said to the priest, he says, "Father, I've done a terrible thing. I've broken one of the commandments. I've committed adultery. I beg of you, I'd like some absolution." The priest says, "Well, Tim, we all have our idiosyncrasies. Who was the woman? He's no father. I can never divulge the woman's name. Please don't ask me to divulge the woman's name." He says, "Tim, until you can tell me the woman's name, I'm afraid I cannot give you absolution. Was it Mrs. McCaffrey, whose husband's the butcher on the corner?" "No, Father, it wasn't Mrs. McCaffrey. Please don't ask me the woman's name. I can never divulge the woman's name." He says, "Tim, I'm telling you, until you tell me the woman's name, I cannot give you absolution. Was it Mrs. McGinnis?" He said, "No, Father, it wasn't Mrs. McGinnis. Please, Father, I can never divulge the woman's name." He said, "Tim, until you can make up your mind to give me the woman's name, I can't give you absolution." And Tim started to walk out of the church. And his friends, "Well, Tim, did you get absolution?" He said, "No, but I got some wonderful leads."
I'm telling you, Trump has studied at Shecky Greene's School of Comedy. I mean, I'm telling you, he does the stand-up. They used to They used to talk about that as the Catskills style background.
Hey, everybody, what's up? It's Gina Grad. And when you're searching for the perfect piece of jewelry, it can be hard to find a brand you trust. Alex and Ani has been creating meaningful jewelry for over 20 years, designing pieces that connect you with all of life's important moments. With an emphasis on value, there is truly something for everyone. They've recently launched their everyday collection. I could not love it more. These pieces are made from stainless steel and an advanced water-resistant plating method that doesn't tarnish. It has the look of real gold. It's beautiful. I love these pieces because they feel so classic, but they have so much versatility. Alex and Ani are also featuring some gorgeous pieces that I have right here, like Black Lotus, this gorgeous Black Lotus charm necklace, and their Stay Wild pendant, and their Wings of Protection necklace that have a classic and vintage feel. See that? And of course, you can't forget their signature bangle bracelets, which I'm also wearing. And I have a lot of their stuff. I have the numerology bracelets. I have the hula dancer to commemorate a meaningful trip I took to Hawaii. From classic to bold statement pieces, Alex and Ani makes it easy to sprinkle your personality into each piece or make a truly meaningful gift for someone you care about. Meanwhile, you can take comfort in knowing that you're shopping with a socially conscious brand, as Alex and Ani has donated over $60 million to nonprofits worldwide, connecting fashion and philanthropy in an easy, fun, affordable way. Right now, Alex and Ani is offering our audience 20% off. So check their gorgeous collection out at alexandani.com and use the promo code MIDAS. That's MEIDAS at alexandani.com. Use that promo code at checkout for 20% off your order. Come and get something beautiful.
So turning to the opinion itself that Judge McAfee wrote, which I think, depending on who you are, I'm a little perplexed. I think I had tweeted out when McAfee released the fact that he basically was responding to the request for a bill of particulars. When you get an indictment, one of the things you can request and basically challenge the prosecutor on is you can say there isn't enough particularity to the indictment, and I haven't been given notice of what I'm defending against. And McAfee agreed with that to the extent that he kicked, I believe, 6 counts.
Correct.
3 of which I think pertain to or that applied to Trump. That to me telegraphed that he was not going to recuse her because, and he gave a choice basically that she could go or Wade would go, and Wade immediately resigned. I don't think that solves the problem. I think it punts the problem, because what's going to happen now is you've got a pretty fulsome record of what's happened. He does not for a second, interestingly, it has not been covered a whole lot, but one of the things that several of the defense lawyers were pressing on was the speech in the church and whether or not that tainted the jury pool, whether that was a violation of legal ethics. You've heard me, Gary, for years talk about that prosecutors are not supposed to be doing stuff like that. And clearly it's a violation of the rules of professional conduct in Georgia. And frankly, a due process, it implicates due process for anybody who's accused of a crime to have those kinds of statements be made by a prosecutor directed to the jury pool pre-trial. So he excoriated, for lack of a better term, I don't even know if you've got some of the language on it handy.
One of the quotes that he had on that was that he called it inappropriate and an unorthodox decision, and he said the effect of this speech was to cast racial aspersions at an indicted defendant's decision to file a pretrial pretrial motion, was the quote.
Yeah, and by the way,
it goes on. It goes on, but it was still legally improper. Providing this type of public comment creates dangerous waters for the district attorney to wade further into. That time may well have arrived. The time rather may well have arrived for an order preventing the state from mentioning the case in any public forum to prevent prejudicial pretrial publicity. But that is not the motion presently before the court.
Yeah, what he's talking about is basically, remember, we've talked, Gary, I can't tell you, countless times. Gag orders originally were supposed to be designed to gag the prosecution. What has happened over the years since Shepard versus Maxwell is that they've been used to gag the defense. This is one of those examples where the prosecution should have been gagged and should have been gagged early on. But did he actually say wade into the waters?
He did. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Honestly, I was reading it, so I didn't pick up on that the way you did as a listener, but it does say, quote, creates dangerous waters for the district attorney to wade further into. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, he probably chuckled to himself as he wrote that.
Yeah, probably.
He also, I would not be surprised. I will prognosticate here. I would not be surprised if Judge McAfee, gets reversed on this decision and remanded for further orders consistent with the factual findings. The factual findings that he made here, I think clearly the standard that was used is arguably the wrong standard. I think that the fact that Wade was the lead prosecutor in this and is now resigned, and it was because of findings that the judge made. I don't think that, for all those who are claiming victory for the prosecution here, I don't know what you're talking about. All this is going to do is generate motions to dismiss, because they're going to say that this prosecution was void ab initio because of what was going on. It doesn't solve the problem. If anything, it puts more fuel in the fire. And whether or not it's Fani staying on here or not is meaningless. He said one or the other has to go. He went. Now the next motion up is going to be a motion to dismiss.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that, there are a lot of people claiming victory when at best it's a short-term stay of execution.
A Pyrrhic victory. I mean, when he says one or the other has to go, you're inviting the next motion, which is that this was brought by a conflicted prosecutor. It was either her or him that had to go. Guess what? This indictment will have to go at some point. They're not going to, either that order gets reversed and Wade comes back, but now Wade has resigned, or that order gets reversed and remanded and he has to eliminate Fani. But either way, there's going to be a motion to dismiss, an omnibus motion to dismiss.
Yeah. Do you want a few of the other poll quotes from his order?
Yes, please.
Quote, our highest courts consistently remind us that prosecutors are held to a unique and exacting professional standard in light of their public responsibility and their power. Quote, every newly minted prosecutor should be instilled with the notion that she seeks justice over convictions and that she may strike hard blows but never foul ones. He goes on to say, let me find the next one.
By the way, that is exactly, and I've described that before, the role of a defense attorney is to zealously defend within ethical bounds. The role of a prosecutor is not to zealously prosecute at all as an advocate, so to speak. The prosecutor is held to a higher standard, and that's the way the system is. You're supposed to, a dismissal or reversing a conviction, or having, if you don't believe you can prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt, not bringing it, that's supposed to be embedded in the DNA of a prosecutor.
All right, last one here, because I know we're up against it. While the judge didn't outright call anyone a liar, he did note, quote, reasonable questions, unquote, that Willis and Wade weren't truthful when they testified under penalty of perjury. Quote, however, an odor of mendacity remains. That, quote, the court is not under an obligation to ferret out every instance of potential dishonesty from each witness or defendant ever presented in open court. Such an expectation would mean an end to the efficient disposition of criminal and civil proceedings. Yet reasonable questions about whether the district attorney and her hand-selected lead SADA testified untruthfully about the timing of their relationship further underpins the finding of an appearance of impropriety and the need to make proportional efforts to cure it.
You know what that means, don't you? It means that he's making a credibility call and he's saying that he did not find them to be credible.
Exactly. And that's going to be...
say that as an appearance of impropriety, and whether you think the standard is an appearance of impropriety or actual an actual conflict is, I suppose, some people are debating, but he's made a credibility call here just by virtue of the fact that he said one or the other has to go.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And by the way, I don't, like I say, it's punting the decision for another day, because if I guarantee you there are a few things besides death and taxes that are sure. The ancillary role to, or corollary to that, is that it's guaranteed there will be a motion to dismiss.
It's a 23-page ruling, and I encourage everyone to go read it, because we pulled some of the highlights, but there's a lot more in there, and we just unfortunately are out of time. Mark, thank you as always for your time on a Sunday.
Thank you, Gary. I enjoyed it, and we'll try not to get rickrolled.
We'll do our best. Happy St. Patrick's Day, sir. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Reasonable Doubt. Subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/Reasonable Doubt Podcast.